Welcome to Old Classic Car in this collection of 170 photographs of classic French cars, and we begin with a 1972 Citroen SM. Here's a review of the same car, powered by Maserati. That's followed by a very smart Renault Dauphine 4962WW. This is a Citroen Acadian, contemporary of the Citroen Diane. Review now down at Prescott of a Renault Alpine, or to be precise a Renault Alpine A310 V6, ex-registration, so 1981, and that's followed by AXW7, which is a Bugatti Type 43. Another Alpine, this is an A110 down at Prescott Hill Climb. And a rear view now of a Citroen 2CV, or to be precise, a Citroen 2CV6 Special. Another French classic now, a Renault 16 left-hand drive, F registration, circa 1967. There's a Renault 4 alongside. Back to the vintage years now, BF7960, that's a 1925 Voisin. To Bicester Heritage and a rear view of a 1965 Renault 8 Gordini. Gordini being the performance tuned up version of the Renault 8. Next up, a head-on view of a Peugeot 203. We saw this in Portugal several years ago now. Back to Bicester, I believe, and a Peugeot 205 T16 Group B rally car. The Renault 4, fairly early example there. And a 1925 Citroen 5 horsepower, the Cloverleaf car. 3 seats, very small vintage car indeed, and that's followed by an oddball, a 1964 Panhard DHJ240B. This is a Peugeot 404 pickup. That's followed by another Citroen. This is a vintage Tourer of the mid-1920s. MJV 242, that's a Renault Dauphine, a Gordini version. Note the spoked wheels. Again, the performance version of the range as with the Renault 8 we had before, and there's a rear view of the same Dauphine. That's a 1959 car, by the way. And first of several Citroen DS's to appear in this collection of classic French cars. Had to be in here. Review of EL1535, that's a 1927 Type 35A Bugatti with hill climb spec twin wheels on the back. The Renault 4CV restoration project, very original car, seen a few years back. Front-on view of a Chenard A Walker, circa 1929 saloon, BF7103, very nice car, ne pas toucher, do not touch. That's followed by a Citroen Traction Avant, PSL 916, that's a Citroen 11BN of 1953. Next up, 2 photos of a Renault 12 GTL Estate. A rare sight now, this was seen in Porto, I believe. Very straight original car by the look of it, brown, lovely. A slightly sad looking Citroen GS, this was parked outside a Welsh scrapyard many years ago, I don't think it's there anymore. EY is a North Wales registration, and that's followed by a Citroen H-Van. H registration, 1969 or 1970. Overhead view of a Renault 4 driving along a cobbled street. It can almost be a brochure for you. Renault 5 Turbo 2, the rear-engined car, rally car in this case. And YHM 671, this is the first of several Hotchkisses to appear. This is a 1938 car, 2-door saloon. Another little Citroen Cloverleaf there, the 5 horsepower car, mid-1920s. here we have YHK 813X. This is a Renault 5 Gordini Turbo. Rear view now at the NEC of a Citroen 2CV Sahara 4x4. One engine in the front, one engine in the back. Looking like it needs a little TLC, we have a Simca Aronde pickup truck here. SDD694N, that's a Citroen Ds23 convertible. Review of the same car. And in the Portuguese museum we spotted this very early Renault 4. Quite a late entry in this particular collection, of Bugatti Eb110. That's more like it, a vintage Amel car, YK98. Another Peugeot 404 pickup. This one with a large box type construction on the rear. Another Citroen Traction Avant, a light 15. Oh dear, a Simca 1000. These were built 1961 to 1978. This one is probably an early 70s example. Doesn't look like it's going to travel much further, and that's followed by a vintage Donnet. A small four-door, four-seat Tourer. JTU 154N, that's a Renault 12TL. Very few of these have survived in this country, and it's nice to see this one pop up. Oh dear. This is SV5340 Type 35B that had a slight moment at Pard and Hairpin at the Prescott Hill Climb. Back to the NEC, not the best photo, but a rare Citroen flatbed truck by the look of it. 500 HPA, that's a Facel Vega HK500, top of the line. Another Traction Avant, literally translating to front drive, front wheel drive car of course. Rear view now of a Renault Alpine. This is a GTA from 1990. This is a La Vie en Bleu at Prescott Hill Climb a couple of years back. There's a Renault Dauphine we spotted for sale at the side of a road in Portugal a few years ago. Very original car in black. Side view of a Citroen Diane. The Alpine A110. This was, I think, Lowton Park, and it's a 1939 Talbot Lego T150C. That's followed by a Renault 4CV van. Proper little Bobby Dazzler. Two classics now, two classic Citroens in fact, the 2CV and a Traction Avant. Next up, a Peugeot 301 pickup truck. This used to be a regular at local shows. I've not seen it for a little while, so may have left the area now. And to Coimbra in Portugal, and a Portuguese registered Renault 4. Renault 4s were assembled over the border in Spain, so they're quite prolific around Portugal now. That's followed by a rear view of a Citroen Ds21. And a front view of the same Citroen DS. UXG 499, that's a 1938 Hotchkiss. Four-door saloon this time, the car alongside we've seen already, the two-door. A work in progress Renault 4CV. The Renault 4, D registration, quite a late one, what's that, 1986? Here's a rarity, so much so that I took two photos of a Renault 15 GTL. Really rare car, I've only seen this the one time. R registration, so that makes it 1976, 1977 registration. Great to see these rare cars turning up at shows. Oh dear, looks like the end of the road for this Renault Juva 4. 4-door, rear hinged front doors. Two classic Citroens, a 2CV6 in the foreground and a Diane in the background. I do like these KXS 675, that's a Panhard Dyna X. A real oddball French car, and all the better for it. Next up, a side view of another Citroen DS on a slightly overcast day at a classic car show. BGH 716, another magnificent Bugatti. This is a Type 57 Bugatti at Prescott. A Renault 4 van. And somewhere under all that clutter is the remains of a Renault Caravel. Close-up look at some period sign writing on the side of a Citroen Acadian. This for a plumber based on the outskirts of Paris. A side view of a Renault Turbo 2. This is a road car as opposed to the rally car we saw before. Engine in the back, quite a leery machine. And the rear view of a Citroen CX-25 DTR Turbo 2. Very distinctive rear window louvers, very much a 1980s thing. Slightly earlier now, probably 1950s, is this Peugeot 203 van, or 203 Commercial, to give it its correct name. Another pre-war French classic now, another Hotchkiss of the late 1930s. A slightly sad-looking Simca estate, out to grass. And continuing with this collection of classic French cars, we've got another Alpine, the GTA V6. Mid-1980s example. And the Citroen BX, one of those cars that used to be a common sight, but when did you last see one of these? Circa 1983-84, this particular car. Back to the pre-war years, and we've got a Type 51 recreation. WFO 234. Possibly a donor car, looks a bit beyond restoration. There's another Renault Dauphine. Left-hand drive, this was in Portugal. And the Citroen Amy 8. The Amy 6 had the reverse rake rear window, a bit like the Anglia, and then the Amy 8 had the more conventional lines of this car. That's followed by another 2CV, being given some stick at Prescott. Still in use, a Peugeot 404 pickup truck. Quite a tough old girl. MLP 802, that's a Type 37 Bugatti from 1926. Here we've got a Renault 4 being pursued by a Citroen 2CV6 that belongs to quite a well-known YouTuber who has a fondness for the Citroen 2CVs, and that's followed here by a Peugeot 504 Estate, spotted in very leafy surroundings a few years back. Then we have another Citroen Traction Avant. Very smart car, XSL 502. PTU 116B, that's another Renault 8 Gordini. Great looking wheels, very smart car. CSL 729, this is a wonderful Type 57C Bugatti. Another 2CV of the probably 1960s, I would say, with a Diane in front of it just. Another Facel Vega, MUD 56, this is a Facel 2 of 1961. The rear view of the same car, very glamorous French machine. Another 2CV at rest, F registration, so a late 1980s car. The rear view of a similar car. This is a 2CV6 Club. We spotted this one on holiday a few years ago. This is a Renault Fuego. Quite a rakish coupe, very 70s, 80s in design. And a Citroen Ds-20. Again, a very eye-catching French design. And a Simca Aronde pickup. Out to pasture by the look of it. Was it restored? Did it get saved? I hope so. Here we have a Bugatti Type 13 Brescia, BF5380. Big collection of Bugattis that year down at Prescott, home of the Bugatti Owners Club. Now to the Haynes Motor Museum, and we've got a 1939 Delahaye 135M Cabriolet. There's another Renault 5 Turbo 2. And what appears to be a rally-prepared Renault 12 Gordini. Many lamps on the front. Got a Renault 4 there, rear view. Alpine A110. Very purposeful, lovely looking little car, very wide wheels. Just looks perfect. Often used in rallying back in the day. There's an Amel car. A vintage racing car at a VSCC gathering. Slightly wet day. There's another Alpine, or Alpine rather. There's a Hotchkiss Jeep. AM2020, that's another Hotchkiss. This is a 13CV Monaco of 1930. Very handsome machine. Another Renault Juvacatra needing a little TLC. I think the sign says for sale. That's followed by another Citroen Traction, the Light 15. Lots more French classics still. Another Renault 5 Turbo 2 there, early 1980s example. Looking very purposeful indeed, with a more standard Renault 5 alongside. A lovely Simca estate car, such a rarity this. K-Reg, so 1972-73. Nice period roof rack on there as well. And that's followed by a Talbot 6 at the VSCC Lowton Park gathering a few years back. Another Peugeot 403, very smart light green example. Slightly less smart black example of a 203, a 403 rather. The Bugatti OU 5142, that's a Bugatti Type 37 in good company. The Renault 4, this time a red example. Very well looked after car by the look of it, probably 1980s manufacture. The Citroen 2CV van. The front-wheel drive Citroen, the Light 15, NFO 133. There's the remains of a coal scuttle-fronted vintage Renault Tourer, probably mid-1920s at a guess. Looking a little derelict, but probably still on the road, a Peugeot 404 pickup. And VXY3, that's a Type 30 Bugatti. Very swish, big Marshall lamps on the front. Citroen GSA, VU registration, so that's what, 1979, 1980 or thereabouts. BF5025, that's a Citroen B12 Torpedo, little two-seat Tourer. And a collection of Renault 4s. Very practical little cars. Quite happily run one of those. The restored Simca Aronde. Maybe it was the unrestored car that was shown earlier. Rear view now of a Renault 5 Turbo 2. This was at the Chumley Pageant of Power several years back. There's a Delage, prepared for racing, VSCC events, etc. Proper classic pre-war French racing car. Very much not a racing car is this Peugeot 403 Break, or estate car, four-door estate. Again, very practical. And here's a Renault Fuego Turbo. Such a rarity. This was at Tatton Park Classic Car Show many years ago, and I've not seen it since or before. Is it still out there? And down to Haynes Motor Museum again. Two classic Citroens here. We've got a Citroen SM and a DS alongside. And in fact, there's a light 15 alongside that. And YR8807, that's a 1926 Salmson. Look at the shape of that windscreen. Rear view now, modern classic, future classic, Peugeot 205. All the GTIs are being preserved now, but is anyone saving these 205 GLDs? That's followed by a 1920 Citroen, another Cloverleaf. Except this one is bodied as a pickup truck by the look of it. Slightly more conventional is JUX359D, that's a Citroen Ds21. A vintage de Dion. Slightly sad looking Peugeot 404 pickup. I think it had reached the end of the road by the time this photo was taken in the mid 2000s. Very smart. What do we have here? A Tolbo Lego. Still in use, but looking, well, showing its years. There's another Renault 4. Good to see them still being used. Back to the Haynes Motor Museum and a early-ish crinkly bonnet Citroen 2CV. Probably about 1958, 1960, somewhere around there. Mentioning a little Citroen now, vintage Citroen. Some sort of light commercial body on it. That's followed by a Simca Rally. Two photos of that car coming up. M registration, so 1973. Rear engine, little hot rod. Quite a rare sight now. Look at the exhaust hanging off the back there. Great little car. Another Alpine Renault. RGW18, that's a 1955 Citroen traction avant. A little Citroen Cloverleaf, this was at the Haynes Museum again. And a Peugeot 504 pickup truck. Good sturdy old vehicle, but good ones are few and far between now. This late 1980s example looks to be in great condition. And then we've got FLF 217, that's a magnificent 1939 Derelict. First of two photographs to feature this particular car. Real example of the pre-war French coach builder's art, if ever there was one. Absolutely stunning. Back to the 1920s, if not before, XE9275. Actually, it's a 1921 Renault. Tiny little tourer, great little car. And the Citroen 2CV, probably late 1960s at a guess. If you can add any information about the cars featured here, please pop a note into the comments. For example, this Bugatti. I don't know a great deal about this, so if you could tell me more about that, that would be great, thanks. If you've got a favourite from this lot, please let me know. And we've got another Citroen Acadian. Back to the Prescott Hill climb. I think this is a Talbot, or Tolbo. If you can confirm or deny this, please let me know. Great little Renault 4 here, early 1980s registration with a period caravan seemingly attached to the back. That was down at Malvern. Back to Haynes Motor Museum, we've got a Renault Caravel looking a bit more ship-shape than the derelict example I featured earlier on. A 2CV alongside. Oh, another one of the Panhard Dyna X. Hopefully that'll go on to be restored, rejuvenated one day. There's still a few more classic French cars to come. Back to the 1980s, circa 1987 or thereabouts, and another Citroen CX Turbo 2. Very distinctive turbo wheels. And of course the rear window louver. So very 1980s. This one with a tow bar on it. Lovely little Renault 4CV now. Great little car these are. The Renault Juvacatra Estate, or Break. Very original car, hopefully oily rag potential. Facel Vega down at the Haynes Museum. This is another HK 500. And there's a very bonny little car. This is a Renault 8. Not a Gordini, not tuned up, not for rallying, just a simple standard road car. A very rare sight now. Another 1920s Citroen Cloverleaf. Another Renault 5 Turbo 2. Plenty of illumination on the front of this one. Another Citroen Traction 32BYK. Nice to see a grey one for a change. Mostly black from what I can tell. Here's a neat little car. This is a Peugeot 205, or 204 rather, Cabriolet. And to round out this collection of classic French cars, we've got a Citroen BX19 TGD. This was seen at Alton Park several years ago at a classic car race meeting. And that particular Citroen rounds out this collection of 170 photos of classic French cars. Please let me know in the comments if you've got any favourite French cars that I've missed out or have indeed been featured here. More videos along very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.